Hey, Spider Nation, welcome back to another episode of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow. I'm Jonathan, webmaster of SpiderManFanRave.com, SpiderManFanRave.com. Going over there, it's my own personal Spider-Man website. Articles, editorials, reviews, fun stuff, anything related to Spider-Man, you can find it over there. If you're a Spider-Man fan, go check it out, SpiderManFanRave.com. And tonight, I'm being joined by James. What's going on, James?
Not much. Like I told John, I'm worn out from work. Thank God I'm off Saturday because I've worn out 9 hours. It's the 4th of July. I work at McDonald's, 4th of July weekend. Let's just say everybody else would call this busy. For us, this was, oh my God, extreme over the top busy.
Yes.
It was really busy. So let's just say I got home and I took a 4-hour nap before this podcast started because I was worn out from work. So besides for that, I guess you can see I'm okay.
Yes, that I'm thankful to say that I've never actually worked in fast food. I've worked in a restaurant before, but never like an actual fast food place, and I feel like that's a good thing for me. So I
Like I joked to John, I felt like a superhero when I left because the fact that I stayed back 2 extra hours because it was that busy and I said, hey, I'll stay back 2 extra hours if you guys need help. Like I got so many thank you. We would have been dead if you left. We would have been killed if you left. Thank you. It's like that is my gift. That is my curse. Who am I? I'm Grill Man.
yes, my old job was a dishwasher at a restaurant, and I remember that it never really got as busy as James is making it out to be. I remember we had some of our like fast nights that mainly were just on Friday nights whenever the restaurant that I worked at had some live entertainment that was very popular. That was usually when our busiest night was, and we would have like 100 people in there. According to James, they had like 700 people at once, which is something I can't even wrap my head around. Like,
And
and
when I mean 700 at once, granted, half of those weren't in the store because there was a line going out of the door.
which
The
is some,
drive-through was like a spiral wrapping around the store.
which would
You felt like you were trapped. If you got off, you felt like, well, I can't leave anyways. Why? Because I'm trapped in between all these cars.
yeah, it's like I don't even want to imagine that kind of scenario.
And like I told John, we have other restaurants in the area, and I'm saying I'm glad that everybody chose to go to us, but everyone chose to go to us. I'm happy, that's more money in the restaurant's pocket, But it's so weird when I'm driving home and I realize that every other restaurant on the way home is a barren wasteland, and here at McDonald's, you think it's like a sporting event.
that is capitalism at its finest. But
It's like I felt like when I drove by the Burger King, I felt like rolling down the window and going, "Hey, you guys got nobody." And then I realized that meant that I had to work all those busy people, and I'm like, "Oh crap."
but yeah, as for myself this oh sorry. As for myself this week, just continuing with the basic life stuff of 19-year-old person from Northeast Ohio. Just like that's the most adamant way I can describe it. The Indians today, we've managed to pull off our longest winning streak in franchise history with 14 consecutive wins. Though apparently today there was a game that I didn't watch today's game, but apparently there was a game that went to 19 innings. I'm just going to say I don't live long enough to watch 19 innings of anything.
Let's just say it this way: the last time the Cleveland Indians had a good team, it was a movie, and it was filmed in Wisconsin. They were
And
technically the Milwaukee Indians in that movie, if you think about it.
But yes, so congratulations to the Indians. You've managed to break your longest winning streak ever. So yay! Let's just keep it going, please. I'd like
And as a Brewer fan, I have no room to talk about that slap shot about the fact that the movie was filmed at Old County Stadium. Because do you want to know how bad the Brewers are right now?
pretty terrible.
I went to Dave and Buster's, which is about 5 minutes away from Miller Park, the ballpark, and there was more people at Dave and Buster's than at the fucking ball game that was happening 5 minutes away.
Yeah, but we won't bore you with details of restaurants and our personal lives and our sports teams. No, you loyal viewers, you come here for one thing, Spider-Man. And
Oh,
unfortunately,
I thought they came here for Dragon Ball Z. Now I got to put back my season 1 DVD. Thank you, John.
no, I thought they came here for our charm and personality. But yeah, I was gonna say I guess it's
personality with me who told a person who hacked into our account to die, and then Zombie Thomas with some of the things that may or may not have been edited out of episodes of podcasts, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that matter.
And then me, but I'm so lovable, right? But
well,
anyway.
according to CBR, you're still a Republican Trump-loving fascist,
which is like literally the most inaccurate representation of me ever.
I still love that bag. Like to bring up, we're gonna bring up memories next week with episode 100. But that's some of my best moments, just going to CBR and telling people, I voted for Obama in the last 2 elections, and you're calling me a conservative because of somebody who's not even on the podcast anymore said.
I'm going to be honest.
Really?
I'm going to be honest. Don't take this the wrong way, conservatives, but me and conservative do not belong in the same sentence or even in the same conversation. I'm sorry. Don't take it the wrong way.
Actually, they do belong in the same sentence for me and John, because here's a complete sentence you can say with that. Me and John are not conservatives.
Yes. No offense to conservatives anywhere. I know a lot of great conservatives who are very well-minded people.
Yeah, there's nothing against it. That's your political view. That's your political view. It was the fact that people were attacking us for something that wasn't even our political view, that we were like laughing about it behind the scenes for like what, months on the old episodes.
Well, given that it's like 2 years later, I'd say we're about 2.5 years now. We've been laughing about it, but yes, we are looking forward to our 100th episode next week, which we will give like a little bit more detail on towards the end of this episode. But yeah. As for
I feel vindicated that we made it 100 episodes, and that's a clue right now. We are vindicated.
I feel somewhat, I feel, whatever. We'll leave it.
Hey, what do you expect? We're an ordinary podcast.
We'll leave this we'll leave it all to next week. But this week in terms of Spider-Man, like nothing happened. Literally, like you could hear a pin drop. That was how quiet the world of Spider-Man was.
There was one. Deadpool, Spider-Man decided to troll everybody again by now referencing Sins Past, which is making people think that Dead No More is retconning Sins Past. And that's it. Also, Dead No More is not going to retcon Sins Past because you'll open up an even bigger can of worms if you say the Gwen Stacy that screwed Norman Osborn was also a clone. Because then you run into the problem of how can a clone even, conceive a child? And then you run into the problem of, well, then if the Gwen's a clone, then the Gwen Stacy who was thrown off the bridge was a clone, which means that the real Gwen Stacy is alive, because you can't justify that the Gwen Stacy who was alive was the real one who got thrown off the bridge if the one who got screwed by Norman was a clone. That doesn't add up, people. Think.
And also, Tom Holland was on the set of Spider-Man because evidently that is like the most mind-blowing thing ever, that the star of the movie was on the set of said movie.
John, did you hear that when they were filming Batman versus Superman? Batman and Superman were on the set.
Oh my God, James! Oh my God, it was so unbelievable.
Which Deadpool Spider-Man also made a joke about. I don't know if you read it, but like Deadpool and Spider-Man went to go see, because Marvel has their own joke versions. The Squadron, basically the Justice League, but without saying they're the Justice League for copyright reasons. And then there was Hyperon versus Nighthawk. Boredom of justice. And then the tagline from the movie is, you won't believe they both have Martha as their mother's names. And then as Deadpool and Spider-Man are walking away, they're like, see, unlike our universe, Hyperon and Deadhawk shouldn't be already trying to promote 8 movies in one. They're not our universe. And then Deadpool's walking by, speak for yourself, Spider-Man. Some people say I'm not even a part of the universe. Get it? Because the Fox rights. And then they also bring up like another shot at the movie. Like, that movie makes no sense. I hope they have a director's cut later on that makes more sense. Still a bad movie, but makes at least more sense. And it was like, wow, Marvel, that is some. If it wasn't a Deadpool and Spider-Man book, I would call it like that was really shady shit. But because it's Deadpool and Spider-Man, it's like a normal Tuesday for both of them to be shitting on Batman versus Superman.
Yes, but so yeah, that's the basic gist of all the Spider-Man news this week. There's nothing, like absolutely nothing. Yes, there's more casting stuff. We still don't know anything. All right, so it's just I'm done with casting. I'm done with casting news until you give me something to work with.
I am very proud of John because to bring back more highlights to promote the 100th episode, John in the old episode behind the scenes was as scared to death when the premiere of ASM2 happened. Not because he was worried about the movie, but he was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna have no new movie news to cover. We're not gonna have no movie news to cover." 100 episodes later, here we are, and John's like, "Hey, we got some maybe sort of rumor casting news." He goes, "Is it confirmed yet?" "No, we're not bringing it up."
Because I don't want to have to run a retraction. I haven't printed a retraction in 20 years. Spider-Man 3 reference.
But we already have. We mentioned the whole, is Michael Keaton in it? Is he not in it? Is he in it? Is he not?
Yes, and we did the Michael Barbieri thing where people thought he was Gonky, and then John Watts was like, "What the? No, he's not Gonky. What the hell? Where did you get that from?"
I'm not surprised that people immediately jump to that because they just announced. I'm a huge anime manga fan, as some people know, and one of my favorite mangas and animes is Death Note. And they announced the cast for the Death Note American adaptation movie, and Light Yagami is now Light Turner. Misa is now Maya Sudden, and L is, well, L. But everybody else got whitewashed. And it's like, wow, Goku got changed to a white guy, Bulma got changed to a white guy, Ghost and Shell characters are now white people like Scarlett Johansson, and now the Death Note cast. And it's like, can't we get one Asian person in an anime movie, please?
All right, but we'll move on to what we're mainly going to talk about this week, and that is we're going to take a little time-traveling trip back to approximately 14 years ago, 2002. We're looking at the JMS era today. We haven't talked a lot about the JMS era on this podcast, and
I embargoed it.
Yes, because James wanted to write some articles for it for the website, but of course life got in the way. So
working 9 hours of work and then 7 hours of school does that to you.
Yeah, so it's like we understand why James didn't do that. So we're finally lifting the embargo, and so we're going to start talking about some JMS stuff. And we're going to start with this little story arc, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 43 through 45, or if you're more inclined, Amazing Spider-Man number 484 through 486.
That's the way I look at it. It's the same thing with this current volume. I don't look at it as, issue 12. I look at it as 700 and whatever.
Yes,
It's 7. If you count Superior, it's like 750, I think. But if it's like you don't count Superior, it's like 23 or something like that.
I think if you count Superior, we're up to. If you count Superior, don't count Renew Your Vows, I think we're up to...
Because that's how it gets confusing now. Because some people are like, do you count Renew Your Vows? And if you count Renew Your Vows, do you count Superior? And if you count Superior, do you count the issues in the 90s when it became Superior Scarlet Spider there for a while? And if you count those, does that mean you count this? And it starts getting confusing. This is why you don't renumber and then renumber and then renumber and then renumber and then renumber a comic book 1,000 times.
Yes. That is very true, but
and they wonder why it's too confusing for new readers when there's 5,000 issue ones of Amazing Spider-Man out there.
But so yeah, this story, to give some context as to where this story begins. Peter and Mary Jane are married, are married at this point, but they're going through a bit of a rough patch, and they are actually separated because. For a while there, MJ was thought to be dead because she was thought to have been blown up in a plane because comics. And so...
Which, thankfully, they retconned about 6 months before 9/11 because you imagine the shitstorm they would have got, even though it was a year before, that, oh my God, they had Mary Jane blow up in a plane. Imagine if it was like I'm saying, though, they were like, Marvel had to be sweating like, woo, we dodged a bullet there. We had her come back 6 months later. 6 months before 9/11. There had to be someone in Marvel like, oh God, now we don't gotta go for that PR nightmare when we have to retcon her death.
But so it turns out that she was not actually harmed, and she was simply kidnapped, and so she was held hostage.
The stalker dressed up as an old man offered her gum with daybreak drugs in it, so it made her unconscious. And he literally just told the lady before they took off in the plane, hey, can I take this lady off the plane? She's not feeling well. And then the stewardess is like, okay, random old guy who never met this woman before in her life and just offered her to stick a gum, and then she literally fell apart like it had some kind of drug in it. And then as soon as he walked away, he's like, psychic mind powers, plane explode now. And then it's revealed that he only stalked Mary Jane because he really wants to stalk Peter, but Peter's Spider-Man, so he couldn't stalk Peter. So he went to the next best thing, which was his wife. And this is what I mean by last week when we did the Jonathan Caesar, where Mary Jane and stalkers got really screwed up.
Yes, and so with all of that, Peter eventually finds Mary Jane and he gets her out. And you know what she does? She leaves.
Not only did she leave him, but we never find out the name of the stalker. He's just the stalker. And then he reveals that it was all along to get to Peter because I really wanted to stalk you because my psychic mind powers told me you were Spider-Man when I bumped into you one time a few years ago. And then I'm like, well, then if I can't stalk and become Spider-Man, I'll steal his wife. And then he just walks away into the sunset and blows himself up. And then Peter goes to Mary Jane and she's like, bye. And then she leaves him. And you're like, what the hell?
And they try to explain it a bit more, and I think there's an Amazing Spider-Man annual where they try to explain it a bit more that when she came back and Peter got her back, that he was acting like a complete moron and not letting her process any of her like PTSD from being in this closed room for months and months on end with no human contact. And so
then find out everybody else on the plane that you were on is dead.
And so she was kind of pissed that like, hey, can I process my PTSD here without you like hounding me to take my pants off? And so she up and leaves. And so the main premise of this, one of the main undergoing arcs of this run is Peter trying to win Mary Jane back. And this,
but it's not a bitchy current run version of her. It's a more of a, she has every right to be kind of mad at him right now.
She's been through hell like multiple times and back in the past 12 months of like in their time, and so she's currently freaking out. And at that point,
because it's not so much that she's pissed off at Peter, like she's mad, but it's more of a I'm kind of fed up from this stuff. I want to take a break. I want to take a vacation, Peter. It's just a little break for a little while. It's not so much like her bitching and Peter's the worst husband ever, I hate him, and having affairs with men on the set of her movies. No, it's more of a just, yeah, for all the stuff that went down with me being on a plane that exploded and being kidnapped by a stalker to get at you. Yeah, Peter, I'm gonna take a few months. I'm gonna take some me time if you don't mind. That was basically what it was with her.
And it was like it was a separation is what it was. They weren't divorced, but they were separated. Because they were just.
Is it a separation now with the whole Mephisto stuff? Because would it now be considered a breakup? Because they weren't married and she left him to go to here. Wouldn't it just be a breakup?
You're talking about right now?
Yeah, like right now in the current continuity. Does Peter and MJ see this as we were together for 20 years until we broke up during a minute? Except for that time period where she left for California.
I don't know. See that I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it's just so this is where the book is right now. And in the previous story arc, Peter had actually sort of managed to get some progress going in the making up with MJ portion of his life, where he'd agreed to meet her and talk to her when she came into town, and because she's been in LA trying to shoot movies and stuff, and so she is coming into town for a night. And Peter is saying, okay, I'll pick you up at the airport. We'll talk. We'll hang out, all this stuff. Well, it turns out that Doctor Strange and the astral plane have a few different plans for him because he ends up stuck in the astral plane.
Bumping into One More Day, Peter Parker.
Because he ends up in the astral plane fighting some fighting some mystical demon thing. And it turns out time works differently in the astral plane than it does, in the regular 616 universe. And so Peter ends up, he misses her entirely because time works differently. And so he was gone longer than he thought he'd be. And so now...
This was the Parker luck at this era when they were separated in JMS. Because they would do this a lot where JMS would because his whole plan was issue 50's bringing them back together. Spoiler alerts. But he would throw roadblocks in between. He would have Peter make some progress and then there'll be a roadblock. But it was never something that was divorce court ready. But there would be some like that one that spider chick showed up, remember? And
Shafter,
she's all
I
like,
think.
and then she goes on the TV and she goes on like Good Morning America and she says, "Yeah, I've been Spider-Man's lover," and because she knows Peter Parker Spider-Man, she's outright saying, "Yeah," and he laughed at his wife, a dumb model, and supermodel's face. Like she never said Mary Jane by name, but she goes, "His wife's a ditzy supermodel and actress," and we used to make fun of her behind her back about how ditzy and dumb she was, and she came up crying to Peter on the phone to the point that Peter like basically almost gave up his secret identity to the school because he's on the phone like, "Well, this lady's saying the stuff about Spider-Man's wife being a supermodel and actress." He's on the phone with his wife who's a supermodel and actress like, "No, it's not true. I'm not having an affair. No, it's not true. Damn it." Super Strength breaks the phone and runs out the door. Fuck the kids.
Yeah, that's in the next story arc. But yeah, so Peter gets stuck in the astral plane and he misses MJ entirely, and he tries to get there in his astral form, but she can't see or she can't perceive him that way. So she thinks that he just stood her up. And so that brings us to this current arc where Peter where Peter is desperately he's like, "Oh my God, I completely screwed this up. What am I going to do? How am I going to fix this?" And so this is
It was basically JMS saying, "See, he's married and he can still do the 'I stood up my wife' thing. Marriage does not mean, well, we can't do that angle no more because I just did it."
yeah. So that is just like that's kind of the context of where we're at this point in the run. So running down the creative team here just real quick, we have mainly J. Michael Straczynski as writer and John Romita Jr. as the ongoing penciler of this main stuff. Straczynski and Romita Jr. had been working together for the entirety of the run at this point, and Romita would stay on probably, I think, until Sins Past. I want to say, I think
No, yeah, since Pat, because he left the book the arc before, and then that was Dean Tato's first arc was the next one.
Yeah, so I think they had a pretty lengthy and solid run together. But looking at this first issue here, I apologize. I just need to get some water really quickly. Here, Aqua Spring Water. If they ever want to sponsor us, they are totally welcome to. So Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 43, or as I said before, Amazing Spider-Man number 484, if that's the numbering you prefer to go with. We begin here at Midtown High School, where Peter Parker originally attended as a teenager in the Ditko days, and he has now returned as a science teacher, which is one of the big developments of JMS's run. So Peter is just talking to one of his colleagues. The holiday break is coming up. They're trying to, they're asking, "Hey, Peter, what are you going to do over the break?" "Well, I'm going to try to apologize to my wife because I kind of stood her up accidentally." "Oh man, been there, dude. Sucks." That's pretty much.
My wife. What are you, 15 years old? Hey, look, I used to set up my high school sweetheart Betty Brant a lot of times, and I may have done it to my college sweetheart Gwen before she died on the bridge, but I did not do that to my Peter. Are you by any chance just the world's worst man when it comes to women? It's all my fault. He goes into the corner to cry.
Yeah. So they're just discussing that. Peter's just dumping his woman troubles on his poor colleague there, and we turn now to Nexus, this company called Nexus Industries, and they have a very interesting. I don't think you can call them a client. Just they have someone who they're interested in hiring who has a very colorful background, as you can say. And as we turn the page, we learn that it's Dr. Otto Octavius. The pleasure is entirely mine, Mr. Carlyle. In this economy, such opportunities do not come around very often. What did you have in mind? Nexus Industries is a high-tech research and development company specializing in cybernetics. We went public on the New York Stock Exchange 2 years ago, and our last rating put us at a net value of $200 million. Your stockholders must be very happy. Delirious. It's unfortunate that your work in cybernetics is not as well known or respected as it deserves. You were one of the first real pioneers in this area, thanks to your remarkable appendages. Wink, wink. Thank you. And my tentacles are pretty impressive too. Wink, wink. Old joke. You were saying? So they're talking about how Dr. Octavius could be this great asset to their company, and they're like, he's saying, but I have a colorful background. Are you sure you exactly want to hire me with as much history and baggage as I have with, like, I don't know, trying to destroy the world maybe once or twice on a weekend? Oh, we don't care about what you did in the past, Dr. Octavius. Only what you can do for us now. But I will admit to being curious. Did you bring it? Of course. It's right in here. Go ahead and open it. It's locked. Is it? How forgetful. Allow me. Boom! And the arms break out of the suitcase. Doc Ock goes on a little bit of explanation of how they work, what their supposed weaknesses are, blah, 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 blah. And Carlisle says, if you'll just give us a few moments to confer, I'll bring in the rest of my team. I'm sure we can put an offer on the table that you'll find more than acceptable. And, it all seems to be hunky-dory, except for the fact that Carlisle has a bit more on his mind. And all of a sudden, when the door closes, the wall panels sort of slide up, and gas is emitted into the room. Doc Ock puts the tentacles on. He tries to escape, but he finds out that the walls are steel reinforced. Aw, shit. And so down he goes. Doc Ock down for the count. But meanwhile, Peter Parker is trying to get through to Mary Jane in LA, but unfortunately, he's underestimated the biggest obstacle of Los Angeles: the receptionist. Look, can you give me a break? I've just about hit bottom. I'm sorry, Mr. Parker, but I haven't seen Mary Jane all day. Have you tried her cell phone? I've tried everything except smoke signals. You're sure she's not there? Well, let me look around again. No, not a sign. Perhaps she's at wardrobe. We start shooting very soon, and she's busy getting prepped. Maybe you should try there. Maybe he should take a long walk off a short pier. Look, can you give me the number for wardrobe? I'm sorry, but I can't give out that kind of info. But you said, I'm sorry, but I have to go now. Can you please at least give her a message for me? What, that you're sorry and that you love her, blah, 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 blah. You'll never do this again, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much. Okay, Mr. Parker. Very well. He said he loves me and he'll never do this again, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Tell him to go screw himself. So Doc Ock wakes up in kind of I don't know what you would call it, just like a metal a glass tube prison thing, and he's like, I don't understand, what is the meaning of this? And Carlisle basically explains that he's not who he seems to be, and that he's basically like this schemy. He is the ultimate example, it turns out, of the top 1% being corrupt. It's just
he is that lazy storytelling of this guy he's that guy from the first Ninja Turtle movie that came out a few years ago, where he's like, well, you're the richest billionaire guy who can afford helicopters to take you to work every day. Why do you need to work with the Shredder? Well, because Shredder will make me, and I quote, stupid rich.
Yeah, so
that still doesn't explain why you went to a life of crime. This is basically this guy.
Carlisle basically says he wants Doc Ock's arms, blah 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 blah, and so he hijacked them. He had his top engineers reverse engineer the technology, make it more modern. He drops a joke about how the arms look like they were made in the 60s, and Doc says, I worked with what I had. Just a joke to try to, a knock at the Ditko books. And so basically,
it was more to explain, I think, why the arms didn't change their design since the 60s, because you can't really do much for legs that are grafted onto a man's skin. So that was their way of explaining why now in context why they still look like they were made in the 60s.
Yeah, but so Carlisle, it turns out, has managed to create his own set of Doc Ock arms, and he intends to get, as James said, quote unquote, stupid rich. But meanwhile, Peter is talking with Aunt May, who, by the way, more context for this run, Aunt May knows Peter is Spider-Man now. And like, it may seem sarcastic that I'm giving 2 thumbs up, but like, this is the most serious 2 thumbs up I've ever given on this podcast.
There were Spider-Man fans who were upset when JMS's run began, because they were like, oh my god, Aunt May's so out of character here. She's actually competent.
But Peter and Aunt May are talking about Mary Jane, how Peter is desperately trying to get through to her. He can't. He's trying everything. And he's like, man, if I could just see her, I know I could get through to her if I could just see her in person. Well, why don't you go see her? Well, because, May, I told you we would do something fun over the holiday break. I've never seen anyone make a movie before, Peter. Why not? And so they get on a plane, and remember, this is 2002. So this is like just when the massive airport security is starting to be implemented into
Like
U.S.
every poster behind them is like, "Don't forget." Like literally, that's what they say. Always remember. And you got the towers in the background.
Yeah, it's like this is the stuff of, the US airports are slowly implementing their advanced security measures. And James is right, that poster of the World Trade Center is there with the never forget. And so they're going through the scanners and everything. They're picking up Peter's Spider-Man suit underneath his clothes. It's long johns. I get chills. Ever since he was a little boy, I can vouch for that. And they search Peter's bag. What are these, sir? Like, I've never seen these before in my life. What are they? Oh, those are mine. I can explain. They're for, whisper, whisper, whisper. Of course, she says what they are. And they're like, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. Does anyone have hand sanitizer? Blah, 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 blah. And she's.
And then you think, can you imagine if you're security and something went wrong with that plane? Well, there was a little old lady who told us something gross, so we let her on with some weird metal devices.
So, yeah. Out over in LA, Carlisle walks into a bank. I'd like to make a withdrawal. Can you give me your account number? I'd love to, but I'm kind of in a hurry. So with your understanding, I'll just take it all. Boom. He just rips off his coat. He starts attacking everyone, ripping the place up, just basically in classic Doc Ock style. Meanwhile, the real Doc Ock manages to break out of his containment, and he's headed to LA to take down Carlisle because he doesn't like the idea of there being a second Doc Ock out there.
Yeah, Doc Ock doesn't like the idea of somebody ripping him off. Can somebody say hypocrite?
But MJ is walking around her studio lot with her movie producer. They're talking about the movie, the script, how they're mostly improvising everything, blah 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 blah. How do you keep the story together if you're improvising? Oh please, no one comes to the movie for the story. They only want the spectacle. Really? I think that's the slogan for Batman versus Superman.
Really? I think that's GMS taking another shot at the Spider-Man movie that's coming out. Because there's a lot of that in his run with this movie. This movie is basically GMS parodying the Spider-Man movie because how dare they not ask me to write it.
But MJ, at that moment, hears a voice that's vaguely familiar. Wait, who's... Oh my God. Hello, Peter. Just give me 5 minutes before you have me thrown off the lot, MJ. You've got 2. Make the best of them. And that ends issue 43. So I'll go first with my thoughts on this issue, and I have to say I think it's a pretty fun issue. I really do enjoy it. The first thing right off the bat that I will say, John Romita Jr.'s artwork is absolutely fantastic. We've talked a little bit about Romita Jr. on some previous episodes, such as when we did our Roger Stern Hobgoblin recap. And this is the ultimate evolution of JR's style, where he is more blocky, he's more gritty, he's more, I guess he's more down to earth. I don't know.
I like this. I like this era with the ink and everything better than how he was in the 90s and better how he is nowadays. Like nowadays, it's like he's trying to be Frank Miller.
Whereas, it really does pop off the page, and I think it also... The artwork and the storytelling really work together to create a very definitive mood for the comic that really works to, I guess, make it feel more real, make you feel more immersed in the story, which I think is definitely an advantage that the book has in itself. So Romita Jr.'s artwork is definitely really good. I like the story of the new Doc Ock. It's I'd hardly say it's original. I'd hardly say it's clever, but I don't know. It just entertains me. I like the idea of Doc Ock being pissed that someone's ripping him off. So all of that stuff is good. Once again, something I should point out is the Aunt May thing. This is the best characterization Aunt May has probably ever had in the comics. And I absolutely love that she is portrayed as competent and smart and resourceful and willing to handle the fact that Peter is Spider-Man. And I just love all of this, and I really wish they would go back to it in the current books because, man, if there is there are 2 big things lost with one more day: Peter and Mary Jane, and the smart Aunt May. Boy, do I miss those things.
It feels like now with Slott, like he's trying to have the best of both worlds, where she's still not in on the secret, and Peter's like, oh my god, I can't tell her. But yet he also is showing her that she's not the same ditzy Aunt May she was in the 70s. She still has that JMS confidence and smart and stuff like that. It's just now Peter's still back to, oh my god, I can't tell her. She'll get shot again. Because that's why she got shot, Peter, because she knew, not because, Tony Stark knew in the world.
But yeah, I mean, I really miss this Aunt May, and I love this. I love this characterization. The Peter and MJ dynamic is really, really good. It's very human. It's very understandable. It's very relatable, which, relatable is almost like a buzzword now. It's almost kind of used as a pejorative when it comes to Spider-Man, because it's always thrown in there, but it's what it is. It's just, this is what happens with couples. One of them gets pissed off at the other for various reasons. The straw breaks the camel's back, and they spend time apart, and that's what happens. And it works, and they make it work in this story. And it's also human and emotional and real and genuine, and it's all perfect. It's just, please, this is how it needs to be done. I'm just gonna say that right now. But overall, I give the issue a thumbs up. I think it's very solid. I think it's a perfect. I think it's a pretty good part one to this 3-part arc. I don't really have any problem with it. I find the airport scene to be actually quite entertaining. I find that to be the funniest scene of the issue. I don't really have anything else to say. I don't really have any problems with this issue. I give it a thumbs up. So, James, what do you think? What do you think of Amazing Spider-Man number 43, Volume 2, number 43?
It's another terrible issue. I hate this one. It's the worst one ever. I'm just kidding with you. Like John. He said most things I wanted to say about this. It's a very good issue. The art, like I said, Romita's one of my favorite artists in Spider-Man's history. Romita Jr. And it's a lot, and this is my favorite era of his artwork. Like I said, in the 90s, he's very extreme in 90s, and it has to be, mullets and all that stuff. And then you get to his now work where it's like he's trying to be Mr. Grim and Gritty, but here with the penciling and the inking and how he's drawing everything and how refined it is, you can see why people said at the time, this is the best Spider-Man has looked in decades. Because it really is. I like how because like I said, he's the best of both worlds. It's his own style, but when you look at some panels with an Aunt May or with Doc Ock or with Peter or with MJ, they look like his dad drew. But there's little tweaks to him that you can tell it's him. Like there's some panels where it's close up of MJ where you would swear that it's just like they took a panel from his dad's era of the book and just had him trace over it. It is like really good, this artwork. And that's really good. You got the funny moments of Peter showing again why competent, why it made sense for this is GMS basically saying why One More Day was a bad idea 5 years before he had to write it. Because not only do you got here's your Peter love life drama in a marriage sense that works and is good. And here's a competent Aunt May who's in on the secret, who Peter realizes not only can she take care of herself, but she can help take care of his secret. So you got that with her, helping him. And you really get the contrast here where Peter's like, I told you for my vacation I was going to take you out someplace, Aunt May. She's like, well, I never been to Hollywood. I never been to a movie set. This is the same Aunt May who back in the 60s or in issue 14, remember with the Green Goblin with the whole Planet of Hate Spider-Man with the head of the rock? This is the Aunt May who made him write a letter to her every hour.
Oh, my God.
She was worried about him being away for 2 days in L.A. because of how bad the gangs in LA are in the 60s.
Well, I mean,
here's Aunt May nowadays, like, yeah, sure, let's go. We'll both go to Hollywood and be on a movie set. It's like very like night and day here with Aunt
May. I mean, in fairness, back then he was a 15-year-old kid that, as far as he was
18.
concerned.
That was his argument back. Is I'm 18 years old, Aunt May. I'm a man. I'm going.
Well, whatever, but.
Because this is back in the book with Remember Real Time because they didn't come up with the sliding time scale yet, so he was 18 by like issue 5.
All right, but any other thoughts, James? And do you give this thumbs up, sideways, or down?
I give it a thumbs up. Like I said, it's really good. The new Doc Ock is dumb. Just have it be in a Doc Ock story. You don't got to have Doc Ock go for a legit job with the villain from the Ninja Turtles reboot. That's all he is. He's the guy who the Turtles call out, why are you doing this? Because I'm going to be rich. You're already rich. Well, stupid rich. You're already stupid rich. You fly a helicopter back and forth from work every day. You can't get more stupid rich than that. And this is this guy. You're not Lex Luthor or Norman, who are batshit insane. You are a guy whose whole motivation is being stupid rich when you're already stupid rich. You're just stupid.
All right, but as we move away from this issue, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 44, or Volume 2 number 44, excuse me, or number 485 if that is the numbering that you prefer. Once again, JMS writer, JRJR on pencils, and we've got James covering this recap. So, James, why don't you take us through Volume 2 number 44, Arms and the Men?
Okay. This issue begins literally where the last one left off, as you see MJ being that person who, when they tell you got 5 minutes or a minute to explain yourself or to do something, and then they're like 45, 44, 43, on and on and on. And then so Peter, like in the world's largest font balloon, basically, you just imagine him like screaming this really fast, like I did, like he's talking like really fast, to explain everything to her in this time frame. And I do kind of like how that's done, because that is like that's like a 2 paragraphs in one font balloon.
It is the largest thought bubble in the smallest panel. It's like
it covers up like 75% of it.
Yeah, it's like it's the largest speech bubble in a very small rectangle of a panel. And like I'll admit, when I reread this issue, I actually missed it the first time, and I had to go back and reread it.
Yeah. So you got this. You got him explaining it to MJ, and she's still. It's not so much she's mad at him, because she has some moments like, Peter, you just can't walk on a fucking movie set. There's securities. We're in a post 9/11 world now. You can't just say, oh, I'm her husband, and expect to be on there. And Peter's like, well, what am I supposed to do? You won't return on my calls? And Aunt May is that person who senses the awkwardness, so she's like, yeah, I'm going to go over to there. And then,
is that
MJ realizes, because this is when she finds out that Aunt May knows, and then on Secret, she's like, hey, you were just explaining to me something about Spider-Man, and Aunt May's literally just said she's going to walk away. And then Aunt May and MJ both at the same time realize that Peter didn't tell both of them that both of them knew. So they both get double mad at him.
It's just like, okay, this is awkward. I may have screwed this up.
The 2 women in his life are both mad because either one of them didn't know that the other one knew, or that the other one knew that they knew.
Yep, that's definitely Pierce Brosnan over there. That's right. That's that guy over there. Let's pay attention to him now, because I'm totally not an idiot.
And then we got Commander Crayfish from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 who walks up to them.
Commander, screw off.
That is a legit villain, and that's what he looks like. People, when you're done watching this episode, Google search Commander Crayfish for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, and then look back at his panel. It's the same fucking guy. He literally the Power Ranger. It's like literally this movie's to do is like, you want to know how cheap we are? We're gonna reuse a suit for Power Rangers.
Oh my god.
So yeah, Commander Crayfish from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 walks up to them, and then Mary Jane has that whole panel where like literally he like draws her lips like 3 times normal size.
Seriously,
I want to pretend to smile,
because this is incredible. Just look at Mary Jane. Like, what is that?
The Joker doesn't even have a big enough smile.
It's like, Jesus Christ. It's insane.
I get it. It's that whole artist interpretation, artist liability, where he's drawing the lips that big so that way he can emphasize that she's forcing a big grin, But still, she looks creepy.
I'm gonna have nightmares.
It's funny enough, this isn't the first time that we made a joke about Mary Jane and bad artwork of drawing her where it's gonna give us nightmares. So yeah, this is the whole period where they were filming a movie which is basically JMS parodying the Raimi movie that's coming out or is out, but also using it to critique people who are critiquing his run. Like, it's not in this arc, but it's in the next arc where she's filming the movie, where the writer of the movie is outright saying, well,
No,
people
no,
on the
no.
internet
That's
are
in the next issue, James. That's in the next issue. Let me get to that.
I'll let John cover it.
No,
Yeah.
I have to cover it.
This issue has classic JMS. How dare you criticize me? Well, I'm going to make fun of your criticism in my book and say about how invalid your criticism is because I am JMS. I wrote for TV shows. But they should also ask me to write the Spider-Man movie, so I'm going to make jokes about how the writer here is incompetent, and he's all like, nobody cares about writing a superhero movie, because get it, they didn't ask the writer of Spider-Man to write it, even though he wasn't yet when they started writing the movie. JMS literally did the same thing with Man of Steel. He is still salty that DC didn't use his origin story as a movie adaptation for Man of Steel. It's like, dude, calm the fuck down. You were just the writer of the Superman book at the time. They weren't going to have you write the movie. Well, Thor gave me credit. Thor gave every writer of Thor comics credit in that movie. So yeah, I like it too. How the guy is trying to Commander Crayfish is trying to outman Spider-Man. Like, oh, here's our husband, the nerdy photographer. Well, I'm gonna squeeze his hand while shaking him because I'm a stunt double Hollywood guy. And then Peter Spider-Man, so he squeezes him back, and the guy is like getting hurt by Peter's handshake. So I do like that, how he's like, oh, you think you can one-up me? Well, here you go. And then so MJ's talking to Commander Crayfish how they're needed on set, and they walk away. And she says, hey, Peter, if you're not going to do Spider-Man shit here in L.A., go meet me later. And speaking of that, we see stupid rich guy, reading the newspaper with his butler and then tipping a guy a lot of money. And it turns out the room service, not waiter, the room service guy, it turns out he's being paid by Doc Ock to find out where he is. So Doc Ock now knows, and so Doc Ock's like, it's time to be Doc Octopus. And then, like, you got that whole moment of, like, somebody staring out a window, and then they see something, and by the time the person gets there, they're gone. Like, you literally have that moment with the kid. And then all of a sudden, the guy's on the phone, and he realizes, wait, is that Doc Ock's tentacles in the window? Boom!
No, he's on the phone legitimately ordering hookers in Amazing Spider-Man?
John, like I said, he's not stupid rich. He's just stupid.
Amazing Spider-Man has a scene where they literally have a guy ordering hookers over the phone. Yes, this is the most kid-friendly superhero, ladies and gentlemen. This is totally the most kid-friendly superhero comic book ever.
I mean, you can get away with it with saying that, he's talking about waitresses or maids or something like that. Like, literally, it's to the point that somebody called him out on it. They can go, you guys are in the gutter here. He's talking about maids, but he's not.
We all know what full service means.
But that's why they use that word. I guarantee you. It's so if somebody did come back at them, they could be like, you guys had your mind in the gutter. We meant maids. You never saw him sleeping with them. It's okay.
Well, on the
yeah, he goes through the window and pulls a reverse, what? Oh, God, Bert Hamilton. I want to say Bart Hamilton or something. He throws a reversal of him where he goes, "You got my shit," and he breaks the window.
Well, I mean, he technically does. Not technically.
Well, that's why I said he said it that way.
He's got a knockoff version.
It's like I said, Doc Ock's a hypocrite because he's staring at the superior, and I said superior as a pun, superior Doc Ock, and he's all mad about that, and it's like, wow, hypocritical Monsanto. And then you got them fighting for the hotel, causing property damage. You got, just a really lame fight. Then you got MJ, I gotta admit, looking pretty hot there, as she's getting wardrobe and makeup. And the guy is there. It's once more commentary on not only commentary on the movie, but it's to the point that they're actually using Peter because she's paralleling the movie hero to the real Peter, and we get what you're doing. And then she goes over power and responsibility because you see the floating heads of guilt where it's Uncle Ben and a teenage Peter Parker, and she's talking about how much of a great guy Peter is compared to a movie superhero, and we get it. And she's talking to Commander Crayfish, who is getting makeup done by a painter in the 50s.
She appears to be painting his teeth. I guess teeth whitening strips weren't available at that moment.
So Commander Crayfish, reminding her Power Rangers, it basically is talking shit about Peter Parker, and Mary Jane is using it as a movie commentary. And then Peter's still on the set, and it's about time to meet Mary Jane after she gets her makeup and hair done. And of course, there's a Dr. Octopus war going on. So Peter's like, fuck this. And he has to go off to be Spider-Man yet again. Parker luck. You get more badass splash pages of the two of them. And then Otto sees that Spider-Man's there, and he's like, what the fuck, dude?
Dude, you stepping on my moment.
He's like, literally, Otto's like, are you kidding me right now?
It's like, first I got this IP theft, and now I got you.
You're in New York. What the hell are you doing here? Well, they're filming a Spider-Man movie. No, they're filming a Commander Crayfish movie for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Why do you always show up wherever I go?
So yeah, they fight. Aunt May's there. She's watching the fight on TV, and she's worried about Peter, and she finds out that Peter's safe. And basically, she's defilling Mary Jane here, while Mary Jane's mad at Peter, pretty much. So you got property damage as Peter's saving people, but the two Ottos are causing problems. And then what do you know, in a battle with Doc Ock, heavy shit falls on Peter.
Because that's never happened. James, can you think of a time when that's ever happened before?
Honestly, John, I cannot name 1,000.
It's just there's. I'll get to this, but yeah.
Like, I'm surprised they didn't have the moment with Otto in Superior where he looked up heavy shit and had him say a dumbass line like, "Oh, I've done this so many times as Spider-Man. I never thought it'd be me doing it this time."
All right, James. What do you think of Amazing Spider-Man 485 or Volume 2, number 44?
It's again another good issue. It continues where the last one left off. Like it's pretty much like this is in the era where comics were writing for the trade. They still are, but this is when it was like really heavy on the whole you're writing for the trade, because literally you're going to hear us be redundant. The art's good, and this is part 2 of the story, and it's just continuing on where the last one left off. Like I said, I'm pretty much repeating myself. I hate the new Doc Ock. He's superior Doc Otto, pretty much, because he's stupid, and he's hiring hookers in a Spider-Man book.
I read that, and I was just like, how did they get that in there? It's just, what?
You got, like I said, more of JMS's commentary on the movie, where that's pretty, like John can vouch for me, that's pretty much what she's going. The actor who is the fill-in Peter Parker for the Spider-Man movie that's coming out is talking about how great it is to play a movie superhero, and she's like, you're not the real Peter Parker, because JMS is writing the real Peter Parker, damn it. And then you got all that stuff. You got Aunt May being the fill-in and Mary Jane, instead of Mary Jane being at the TV crying like, be safe, Tiger, it's Aunt May now. But besides that, it's really good artwork, and I enjoy it, and, a thumbs up.
My thoughts basically the same as James. I really enjoy the Peter MJ conversation. I think it's very well thought out and well written. The artwork, I love Romita Jr., but that MJ face, I'm gonna see in my nightmares for weeks now. It's just, oh my God.
And like I said, how many times we have seen artists with really bad panels drawing Mary Jane's face have we said she's going to give us nightmares tonight? You think Mary Jane, who's one of the most stunningest, beautiful, I'm not in the cartoon characters, but one of the most stunningest, beautiful comic book characters of all time, I can name off probably a handful of 4 or 5 times where we have said the artwork made her look hideous and scared us half to death.
It's just it was creepy. But yeah, I thought all of that stuff was good. He was very like I said last issue, human, emotional, genuine, all of that stuff. I like the moment where Peter tries to fit the entire story into one speech bubble. That was pretty good.
That was a good way to do the recap. I gotta admit, that was a creative way to do the recap.
And I also loved MJ's line of, Peter was saying, MJ, I was an astral, because he was in his astral form, and she says, well,
like close enough.
She's like, that's close to the word I was thinking of. That was good. I liked that moment. I thought that was
their way of saying, we're not a Max book, we're not an Ultimate book, we're a main 616 book. This is as close as we're gonna get to asshole. Until New Avengers, when Captain America calls Peter an ass, and then it was like, oh my God, they can say ass now.
Yeah, language, Steve Rogers.
Well, that was at the time where they were clearly Bendis. Almost every writer who wrote for Ultimate was on a whole spin of 616 versions are just like their Ultimate versions. Yeah, I can believe Ultimate Steve Rogers would call Spider-Man an ass. not 616 Steve Rogers calling 616 Peter Parker and asked when Peter Parker's trying to help here at the raft.
But yeah, I love the Peter MJ stuff. It's all very good. I love MJ's reaction to her finding out that Aunt May knows. She's like, "You told her our one special thing, and you told her, really?
You kissed Gwen the same way you kissed me." I know it's a Spider-Man 3 joke, but who cares?
You told her, really?" So that was funny, and I just love that panel where they're both just glaring at him, just like,
it's like, wait, you knew? Yeah, I knew. But he never told me you knew. Well, he didn't tell me you knew.
But yeah,
like, I love that.
I like
and
that.
Scare they give him. It's like Peter Parker fights Doc Ock, Goblins, Venom, Morlun, all of these things, scared to death of his wife and his aunt.
I'd say that's about right. But and the fight with the Doc Ocks and with the two Doc Ocks and Spider-Man is really good. The artwork is very solid. It's all really good. I love the moment at the end where Doc Ock actually helps Spider-Man save the civilians so that they can get out. But then, like, the moment all the civilians are out, Doc Ock drops it all. Yeah, you're not a civilian, bug. See you later. And so Spider-Man.
Yeah, I am. Secret identity. Damn.
But
just think about it. Otto, if he legitimately killed Spider-Man here, Otto would have been screwed in Superior.
But yeah, I mean, I like all that stuff. I also love the moment of Aunt May watching the reports on the TV, and she asked the guy in the restaurant to turn it off. That's just that was a very little moment, but I thought it was very in character.
Like I said, it's MJ has this moment when she's married with Spider-Man, when she's married to Peter, but MJ can't really do that right now because she's mad at him. So that was a good way of, now that Aunt May knows on the secret, it can be her having that moment.
All right, but I give this issue a thumbs up. It's overall, it's pretty good. So we move on here to the last part of this arc, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 45 or number 486, if that's the way you prefer it. Until the stars turn cold, Spider-Man is trapped under a bunch of rubble. Where have we seen this before? In what famous story arc have we ever seen Spider-Man?
I mean, remember how it was so bad that in the press, when the big what was it called? What was that called? The big, like, Bible or what's that called? Where they were like, what are branded A, and they're like, they named off a list of things that why they were doing this, everything. Yeah, and in there they go, no more. We got a new thing. No more bridges. No more goblins, and no more.
Yeah,
heavy stuff. And then, like, 6 months later, they retracted on all three of those.
Yeah, I have a copy of that in my brand new day trade. Tom Brevoort's manifesto on that. Yeah.
And he already said no more him lifting up heavy shit. And then 6 months later, they had Spider-Man lifting up heavy shit. The cover is, in fact, him doing it.
But yeah, so Spider-Man, he's desperately searching for a pipe with air. He eventually finds one. It's not much, but it'll get him through for a while. Mary Jane shows up on the set of, what's his name, Commander Crayfish. That's what we call him, James. Yeah. Shows up with Commander Crayfish. He's actually Lobster Man, but we call him Commander Crayfish. But she shows up on the set of the newest Power Rangers. Hey, where's Amy Jo Johnson? I hear she's really pretty. Oh, hey, Jason David Frank. Oh, is this the day before you became an arrogant D-bag? Oh, okay. But shout out to Jason David Frank. Sorry. But so Mary Jane shows up on the fellow
cast members bugs. He was always a D-bag.
But Mary Jane shows up on the set, and all of a sudden, Mr. Devereaux. Oh, crud. What? It's the writer. I gave this off to specific instructions that he wasn't invited. Why didn't I get a call sheet for the camera test? I don't know. I gave my assistant specific instructions that you were to be faxed the call sheet wherever you were. I'll have her fired at once. We have bigger problems than that. Have you seen this last batch of notes? This isn't the best time. They don't like Lobster Man's origin. They said it was stupid and improbable and not deep enough. What does that even mean? How was he created? He was bitten by a radioactive lobster. Here we go again. They want something bigger, like he was summoned to the job by, get this, some kind of giant lobster god. Fetz, be reasonable. Reasonable? It's moronic. Everyone on the internet who heard the rumor about this thinks it's stupid. People on the internet think everything's stupid until they see it. Then the next thing you know, they're having it tattooed on their butts. Look, Fetz, Radiation is passé. It is so last century. We have to move on. Create new myths for a new audience. Besides, if it's a lobster god rather than a one-time only accident, we can have all kinds of sequels. Lobster boy and lobster girl and the evil lobster man, you name it. We have to deal with the real world here, Fets. And stuff like this doesn't happen in the real world.
This is GMS at his most bullshittery. The internet doesn't like my book and criticizing me. Well, fuck you. It's not that I'm wrong. It's that you're wrong. You're so wrong. You're gonna have Morlan and Ezekiel tattooed on your ass in a few months. It's like, dude, calm it down, JMS. And like I said, this ain't the last time he will do this. And not only his run of Spider-Man, but his run on every other comic he's on. Superman begins with the Superman Grounded storyline begins with a Tom Brimroth fill-in criticizing as the fat slob internet troll who's making fun of JMS's comic books, and then Superman flies him up in space and drops him. Because as JMS actually put it in an interview, if you agree with him, you're as virtual and as pure as Superman. If you don't agree with me, then you're that asshole critic who was criticizing Superman in the crowd.
Oh my, it was just like, you read this scene and it's just like, oh my God.
He is mad that people don't like his change.
Okay, but
like, this is the guy who would go back later on, like in interviews, who would go on and say, people got so bent out of shape, but I never changed the origin. In fact, I had Peter say that he doesn't know if it's real or not, except for the other where I do outright say, no, it was right. I was right.
Oh my God.
It's like, yeah, okay, if you left it at the Morlan and Ezekiel shit here, then yeah, you could say you left it ambiguous, and Peter can, it's a choice. You can believe my version of the origin, or you can believe the classic one. I don't care. But then you did the other, where you outright said, no, it's my ending.
All right, so we go back to Spider-Man. He's trying to dig his way out of the debris, and he's digging. He's going all the way up. He's going all the way up. Aunt May arrives on the movie set. Mary Jane? Oh, it's all right, guys. She's with me. Is everything all right, May? Yes. Well, Peter had to go. Oh, it's so typical of him. No, I mean he had to go. Oh, wait. What's that noise? Boom! Guy flies through the wall. Well, just what I was looking for. A perfect cross-section of hostages and potential casualties. All we need now is a teamster with a truck and looks at Commander Crayfish. Tell me that you aren't really what you look like, are you? No, it's just wardrobe. Good. Such a relief. I was afraid that entrance requirements in the hero community had hit an all-time low. Oh my God.
He's not a hero. He's a Power Ranger villain the week that blew up.
I love that moment. I don't know why. That moment made me laugh so hard. But
it's GMS criticizing on movie suits.
Hey, James, guess what? Spider-Man lifted something. Because that's never happened before. So, Spider-Man lifts himself out of the debris. He goes to the movie studio. Carlisle and Doc Ock are going to Carlisle's going to kill Aunt May. Doc Ock shows up. I want no distractions. If you think for a minute you're going to get away with my technology, you're... Otto? May? Otto? May? Brad, Janet, Dr. Scott! You just don't know when to give up, do you, old man? And so after this, awkward encounter between the two people who almost got married at one point in the Jerry Conway run.
And here's the thing, he is heroically saving them, so I think this is JMS's way of trying to justify if Aunt May still has the thing with Doc Ock. It's like, well, he's obviously got some good in him. He saved me and MJ. We would have been dead if it wasn't for him.
But Doc Ock and Carlisle, they start fighting. Spider-Man shows up, and he intervenes on the fight. Doc Ock tells Spider-Man basically how to defeat Carlisle. Spider-Man shoots an entire web cartridge into Carlisle's in between a crack in Carlisle's suit, which ends up the webbing expands and it just basically incapacitates the guy. So Peter looks over. He sees that the real Doc Ock has made an escape, and then he looks to his right. Are you kidding me? the Power Ranger ripoff is going to get laid tonight, and I'm going to get nothing because MJ's helping Commander Crayfish and not Spider-Man, which is just, that is typical Parker luck. That is what Parker luck is.
Except he's not going to get any because you're married to the woman.
But still, like, so Peter, it turns out MJ comes back to Peter and May. You know, they go to a restaurant, they talk. Listen, I never should have come, Mary. Peter, I'm sorry, I never should have come. Of course, if you hadn't come, who knows what would have happened in there. I know. And I'm just as glad that Spider-Man was here. But this is the me part of the discussion, MJ. I had no right. I wanted to see you and apologize. Look, Peter, I don't know what to tell you right now. The truth is, I still need to find out who I am and where I fit in. Not in terms of us, but like you said, just in terms of being who I am, being me. Your life, what you do, it's pretty overpowering stuff. After a while, it took everything I was. All I could do was wait and worry. I lived my life reacting to what you did with yours. It was like everything I did on my own was just a distraction from the important stuff. And I can't be a distraction. I can't. I can't be second place. You understand, right? Yeah, I suppose. But I'm still in love with you, MJ. I always will be. So what do I do about that? Well, you wait. You let me figure out what I need to figure out. I know that's hard, but I can't make any. Because I can't make any promises. But I don't need any promises, MJ. 'Cause baby, I will wait for you. 'Cause I don't know what else I can do.
This is as short as you get to MJ looking out her window, and here's Peter with the boombox playing "I'll Be Watching You."
Literally,
as rain's falling on him.
Literally, it's just like, oh my god. But so we also I do not own that song. Please, YouTube, don't take this video down for that. I do not own that song. But yes. So I'll wait for you as long as you need, or until the stars turn cold and fall from the sky, whichever comes first. And so MJ looks over. You've been awfully quiet, Aunt May. Have I? Yes, I suppose I have been. I was just thinking, Peter, I know that you're right. And Octavius, all this time, he was Doc Ock. That's right. She looks over at Mary Jane. Anything you want to tell me? Is everyone lying to me?
This is a great moment because this is finally like when I remember when I read this issue, I kind of read it out of order because this is me going back to the GMS era trades and back issues when I was getting into comics. So this is my Aunt May. So going back and reading the issues from her in the 60s, 70s, and 80s where she is in love with Doc Ock and she's a dumbass, even makes me even more angry. I imagine if you're a fan who read Spider-Man since issue 1 of Amazing and you're got all the way up to here, you probably were like, oh, thank God. Because this is like, we make fun of her. Like, there's times where I'm rereading the Stanley era or the Conway era or, Wolfman era, whatever. And you would get to a Doc Ock story where I'm messaging John, how fucking stupid is she? Literally every supporting cast member is telling her that Otto's evil. And she doesn't roll with it. Because she's a dumbass.
But yeah, so basically that happens. They live happily ever after, blah, 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 the end. But yeah, all right. My thoughts on this issue. First of all, stop lifting stuff. All right, I'm done with it. Stop. If I ever see Spider-Man lift anything again, I don't care. He's not even allowed to pick up a pencil anymore. Just stop lifting stuff, please. All right, but now that I got that.
Watch when we get 2 weeks from now when we review the next issue, he's gonna be lifting stuff.
But all right, now that I got
that, the podcast will end with 101 episodes because John will quit right then and there.
But yeah, I got that out of the way. The JMS ripping into his internet trolls was absolute gold. I don't know, that could be the best moment of this arc. That was just, it's unbelievable.
Not really, because doing it one time is like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm making fun of myself. The fact that it's over a decade later and he still does this and stuff he writes, it's kind of like, wait, there's you making a joke about something on the internet, be like, relax, guys, And then there's you just being a petty jerk who's getting mad because people don't like your idea.
But it's just like how far it goes in this issue is just hilarious.
He goes as far as to say you're going to get more. He basically says you're going to get more Lon and Ezekiel tattooed on your ass. He literally says that.
Well, that's what you got two cheeks for. But yeah, I that was hilarious. I enjoyed the Spider-Man Doc Ock fight. I liked all of that. I loved the conversation at the end. I thought it was very heartwarming. I thought it was, once again, I've said this before. I've said it every issue. I'll say it again. Emotional, genuine, all of that stuff. I love the MJ Aunt May dynamic. Just that one moment that you got between them where they're confiding in each other that Peter's off fighting as Spider-Man. I love that. It's such a shame that isn't still around, but I love the MJ May dynamic there. But and I love the moment Otto, May, Brad, Janet, Dr. Scott. Rocky Horror Picture Show reference for those of you who don't know. But yeah, I love that. It's all good. So and once again, the Ramita art, fantastic. So all in all, I give this arc 2 thumbs up. I think it's great. I think it's one of my favorite JMS stories. It's very solid. So James, what are you thinking of Amazing Spider-Man 45/486/ whatever? What do you think of this issue, and what do you think of this arc in general?
It's another really good issue. Unlike John, I'm not a fan of JMS calling out everybody who ever complained about his comic, even going as far as to say you're going to get back.
I'm not saying it was good. It was just so over the top that it was hilarious.
Like I said, this ain't the last time he does it. He does this 4 or 5 more times. So I mean, this is a guy who's still mad and thinks that Man of Steel wasn't as good because they didn't use his origin he wrote in the comics.
All right, look, I'm just going to say this right now.
This guy can be petty at times.
There's a lot of reasons Man of Steel isn't good. There's a lot of reasons.
None of them is because they didn't use GMS's idea.
There's a lot of reasons that Man of Steel sucks.
It's like, GMS, I like your comic run Spider-Man. It's one of my favorite. It got me into the character. But I have watched some of your TV shows and your other movies. There's a reason they didn't have you write Man of Steel.
All right, but
so, yeah, the artwork's great. The May finally finding out the goddamn truth is hallelujah, about Otto. It's like, finally, because even going back and reading back issues and, past runs, it's like, gets annoying how there's like literally one issue during I want to say either early Conway or late Stan Lee, where every single character tells her, don't live in his house.
No, that's the early Conway run. It's
his first arc, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like it's the first Hammerhead arc.
Peter tells her, Jonah tells her, Robbie, Harry, Gwen. She gets mad at Gwen and calls her a hussy for dating Peter because she called out Otto. MJ tells her. Anna Watson tells her. Every cops tell her who are arresting Otto in front of her. Are you this fucking stupid? And she was. Because all he said is, wasn't me. It was Spider-Man. Okay, I believe you. What? When Jonah calls you out on this. You're fucking stupid.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's her finally being like, so all this time, yeah, she must feel like the biggest idiot in the world. Because she was. And then I take it back because I realized, no, the superior Otto Octavius. No, he is the dumbest guy in the world. So yeah, you got that. I wonder if he's going to get those booty call hookers in jail. I just wondered that. Yeah, enough lifting shit, but as we know, we're complaining about a comic where it happens 100 more times even after this comic, so it's a moot point. Or as my friend Trevor calls it, a moo point. Because it's like a cow's opinion. Nobody cares because all they do is mew. So it's a moo point.
Okay.
Yeah, moving on. Yeah, it's like good artwork, good story. Except for a few things that like the jam. Good story until you get those 2 pages where Jameis is like doing this pretty much at the critics, Like I said, Mary Jane in that whole kind of ripped damsel in distress suit. I gotta admit, I'm not a guy in the comic areas, but if there was a real life woman like Mary Jane walking around in that in a movie, here's my money already for it. Yeah, and that's kind of topped off by that guy looking like a fucking douchebag to the point that even the supervillain says, "Dude, what the fuck are you wearing?" And I gave John a link, Commander Crayfish from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and John's eyes literally lit up when I gave him the link. Because it is literally this guy. They just had the Power Rangers sit on set and goes, "Use that." So yeah, you got that. And then you got the whole kind of, like John said, the moment of the movie hero actor who's a coward is going to get the girl, but he doesn't because, Peter ends up having the coffee with Mary Jane. Because there's no way Mary Jane is going to have an affair with Commander Crayfish from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I mean, like, Spider-Man, Power Ranger villain. Spider-Man, Power Ranger villain. I mean, no woman wants to date a fucking Power Ranger villain. And when I go on to PMC next month, there's gonna be fangirls that were shipping villains. I know that, and now that's gonna be. This is the internet. People ship everything with the Green Ranger from this current season, Dino Charge. Literally, everybody has him shipped with everybody.
All right.
It doesn't matter if it's Power Rangers or Glee or any other TV show in American history.
Oh my God!
If it exists, they're shipped for it. I told John about a Glee one. That's why I brought it up. Where my sister literally shipped a character with a pencil sharpener.
Do you want to know that you did not? I do not live long enough to go into the depths of Glee shipping that I've seen on the internet.
Like I said, my sister shipped a character. I think his name was like Paul or something like that. She shipped him with a pencil sharpener, and her only reasoning was, well, he is a man whore.
Jesus Christ. All right, but so
yeah, so Mary Jane is not going to be with a Power Ranger villain. That's where the sidetrack went from. But besides that, art's good. Overall, story's good. Besides for the 2 pages where JMS just walk, it's pretty much JMS making a cameo going like this at the panel. Besides that, and for people that are, oh wait, we don't got an audio copy no more. So I'm gonna say, well, if people got the audio copy, we're flicking off the camera here. So yeah, besides that, it's pretty good art, and I like it. It's more great stuff as JMS is showing how you can have drama in Spider-Man's life, and he doesn't need to be swinging and single. Just like the very next issue, isn't that the one where he wins the lottery, but because he was out in LA being Spider-Man, the lottery ticket went unclaimed? I think it's like the very next issue. I think so, yeah. That he's literally eating an apple and he's staying up all night. Because not only did he go to Mary Jane and have all this bullshit happen to him, but he had the winning lotto numbers at home and they went unclaimed. That is Parker luck, people, written well. Not, I don't know. I don't know. Simple math that a science guy should know. All right, but so James, I take it you give this a thumbs up? Yeah, it's 3 really good issues. All right. So that's going to conclude basically our review portion for this episode. That's also going to conclude this episode of the podcast. We don't really have anything else to talk about. So next week, 100. Next week is 100. The big anniversary celebration. We will have finally made it. So we have some things planned. We are very excited about them. You may see some old faces. You may or you may not. Who knows? I can confirm one guy. Like, I've been talking to Jan about this, and Jan is like so gung ho for this. If he doesn't show up, it's because he's dead. Especially because of what the topic of our episode's gonna be. So it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time. So next week, episode 100. Be there for that. But other than that, any shout-outs or words for listeners, Jane? I think we should tell people what we're doing, because that way, if they got their own copy, they don't got to immediately when we start go run and get it. They know ahead of time. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay, so we'll spoil it during. We're doing We're doing ASM, the audiobook commentary on an audiobook. No, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be Spider-Man 2 audio commentary, not ASM 2. Spider-Man 2. This is the one with Doc Ock. This is why this issue was actually kind of relevant, people. This was a clue. They're in Hollywood filming a Spider-Man movie and Doc Ock's the villain. That was a clue for you guys. Me saying Ordinary and Vindicated are songs on the soundtrack. These were clues for you guys. We're doing Spider-Man 2 commentary.
Yes, so Spider-Man 2, 2004, Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Alfred Molina. We will be doing a commentary on that, the theatrical version, not the extended.
Yeah, I was about to say we got to say it's not the director's cut. It's the theatrical.
It's the theatrical one. So if you have that DVD, you have that Blu-ray, whatever, be ready. We'll be talking about that. And we'll also be sharing some of our favorite memories from the podcast, stuff like that. So it'll be a fun show. But
it's gonna be fun because unlike a lot of people across the internet that immediately after Nolan Batman came out in the MCU who now shit on the Raimi movies, I'm still a fan of the Raimi movies. So it's gonna be fun to be doing an audio commentary and be bringing up, is this moment cheesy? But does it make it bad? Sometimes cheese is good, people. You don't want a pizza without cheese on it, do you?
All right. So James, any shout outs or final words to the listeners before we sign off?
Shout out right now to my coworkers. I hope it's 9 o'clock, almost 10 o'clock here. I hope it's still not busy, but knowing our luck today, the whole fact that even when I came in for the overnight people and they were busy, and where we were when I was there, if you're working there, I feel bad for you guys. Man, it sucked today because we were so busy. So besides that, I have no other shout out I can honestly think of. Oh, shout out to the Death Note movie because finally that's happening. That's finally a thing. So it's great to know that it is a thing because there's 4 Japanese Death Note movies, so they're having movies, but this is the first Americanized version. So I'm happy that it's finally getting its thing, and I hope it's good. Please don't be Dragon Ball Evolution bad, because anime fans, we have a bad track record of U.S. adaptations. Like I said, Dragon Ball Evolution. So please don't be a Dragon Ball Evolution. I'm begging you.
All right. My shout out this week, Marvel Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, JMS, John Meter Jr. Thank you for Spider-Man. Thank you for the comics we reviewed this week. Other shout out, Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 5 came out this week. That was a good comic. Captain America, Steve Rogers number 2 came out. I know the last time we talked about this, I bitched for like a half an hour. I apologize. I was an idiot.
Because this issue was such a delay, like, wasn't it 2 months? Like, it was in between issue 1 and 2, or at least 6. It was like a month and a half or 2 months.
It was like
there are some conspiracy theories. Do you believe that that issue 2 was them retconning it already?
No.
Or do you believe that this was the plan from day one?
No, this was not delayed at all. This was their regular release date. This was
I'm wondering because some people are swearing up and down that this is them retconning it already because of the backlash.
Yeah, it's not. This is what they had planned. So, yeah, I apologize that I was such an idiot about number 1.
For people that don't know, it turns out the Cosmic Cube chick was raised by Red Skull. So since she was raised by Red Skull, when she brought back his youth and his length, she changed reality so that way she's like, well, the only way he could have a happy life if he was a member of Hydra. That's basically what it was.
So she made Steve Rogers into Hydra. So, yeah, it was. I'm on board with the title. It's fine. So shout out to
now that they're gonna retcon it. At the end of this arc, they're gonna have him be like, "Oh my god, they tricked me. I'm not Hydra."
Steve Rogers number 2. Shout out to that. That was a good comic. Other than that, just tune into our 100th episode next week. That's all we can say. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show, episode 99. Got one next week. Next week, baby. We got one more. All right.
And to tie it into that movie, we're double digits. No more.
All right, but see you guys next week. Thank you very much, and good night.